We are not formally educated in any of the topics we will be discussing in this podcast. Neither are we claiming to be experts by any means. These are our opinions, and none of it is intended to be taken factually. I would also like to state that this podcast contains strong language and humor that might offend. Listener discretion is advised. In this podcast, we dive into the hidden mysteries of everyday life, those strange, quirky, and sometimes baffling questions that most people don't even think to ask. From the unexplained phenomenon right under your nose to the odd facts buried in the back of your mind, we're here to explore the curious corners of the world around us. Whether it's religion, spirituality, or science, they all have something to say about who we are, where we came from, and the powers of the universe. The truth has to be somewhere in between. Welcome to the Riddles of Reality.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Riddles of Reality podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about the Ice Age. But before we do, we want to recap the disclaimer from the beginning of the podcast. We say this at the beginning. We run this every episode. Please keep in mind that Jaden and I are not in any way experts. We're not scientists. Our opinions are our opinions. That's exactly what they are. They're opinions. This is a philosophical podcast. We're taking what we know, what we've learned in school, in research that we've done personally, and we're trying to piece together answers that we feel like we haven't been getting from science or the Bible or wherever you can get answers from. So please just keep in mind, again, we're not experts.
Building on what Sarah said, we have taken into account some of the considerations that we have received. So what we did was we tried to do a little bit more research to begin this episode off with the Ice Age, because we did want to just talk scientific, pretty much, what science is telling us about the Ice Age. And we actually discovered something really interesting when we tried to do this. There really isn't much on the big Ice Age.
Yeah.
And just disclaiming, we didn't do a deep dive. So I don't want to hear anything about there's so much on it. Where we looked, we didn't find what we were looking for.
Yeah.
We will revisit this topic at a later time, a few seasons down the line, with a further in-depth answer to this, because it actually did spark our interest a lot in it. But what we found makes absolutely no sense with the other topics that we discussed.
Yeah. Jaden and I, we did a couple Google searches just to get some background on the Ice Age, and guys, we couldn't find anything. And I told Jaden it felt like it was almost the Mandela effect. So Jaden and I, we searched the Ice Age, and we start getting these different results. So one of them was, which Ice Age? Apparently there were multiple. Jaden said that she found something where apparently we're still in an Ice Age.
Yeah, it didn't really explain why, but when I searched when did the Ice Age end, it was like it never ended. We're still in it.
Yeah.
So that was crazy. When we're talking the Ice Age, what me and Sarah picture when we picture Ice Age is the mammoths, the saber-toothed tigers, the giant sloths, ice everywhere, and humans. Big emphasis on humans. This is the first time in the history of the world that we know that humans pop up out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And Sarah and I were discussing in the car. We know this because of the hieroglyphics and the drawings that they put on the caves, that there were humans. But when you look it up, it says that humans didn't come up on the earth until 63 million years after dinosaurs. But it also says that the Ice Age, the large one, had only lasted for 30 years. I could not find a time frame for how soon after the extinction of the dinosaurs that we went into the Ice Age, but I don't think it was 63 million years after the dinosaurs.
I don't think it was 30 either. And that was another conversation that we were having. On some of the research that I was looking up, it was talking about there were two possibilities of the Ice Age. One was called Snowball Earth, and that's what Jaden and I were picturing, where the Earth is covered in ice and snow, very minimal signs of life, and that the humans were living in that snowball Earth with the mammoths, the sloths, the saber-toothed tigers. And then the other option that was presented was that there was partial ice ages. So parts of the world were covered in ice and snow, like Scandinavia, parts of Asia and Europe. And the rest of the world was just uncovered. But what the explanation was of why the world would go into an ice age is because of the way that it's tilting on its axis. Not only that, but the greenhouse gases as well. I just looked this up, guys. It says carbon dioxide is not the direct cause of an ice age, but it plays a significant role in the development. CO2 is a greenhouse gas that absorbs and radiates heat. Without CO2, Earth's natural greenhouse effect wouldn't be too weak to keep the average global surface temperature above freezing.
I was actually looking at what types of animals were alive during the large ice age, but I found a little side note here. The ice ages began 2.4 million years ago and lasted until 11,500 years ago.
Wow.
So this one is claiming that the ice age had lasted for over 1 million years.
Okay. And you said that it ended 11,000 years ago. So the first ice age was known as the Huronian glaciation. It's believed to have been triggered by a significant decrease in atmospheric carbon dioxide levels because carbon dioxide helps the Earth regulate its temperature. It keeps it above freezing. So that's where global warming comes in because there's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Okay, that makes sense to me then. But what doesn't make sense to me is the timeline pieces.
We're getting multiple answers on that.
Now I'm thinking, okay, is it the Mandela effect? I was telling Jaden when we were in the car, when we went through school, first you talked about Jurassic period, and then you started talking about the Ice Age and how people lived in the Ice Age and the animals. We have all of the Ice Age movies, right? And that's what everybody's initial thoughts are when we think about an ice age. But how is it that we look up an ice age and we're getting multiple explanations of it? Again, we don't know what we think we know. We actually don't know shit.
Everything we know is a lie. I think the biggest mystery that we're having right now with the ice age is finding any factual evidence whatsoever. Everywhere that we're looking, we're not finding how long after the dinosaurs until we fell into this ice age. But if the whole concept is the sun was blocked out because of dust and debris due to the meteor, blocks out the sun, we fall into an ice age. Why can't we get a number? An estimated number there of how long that took?
You know what? When I was reading that piece where it was talking about ice ages occurred maybe only on different parts of the earth, that makes more sense to me.
I just saw, ironically enough, that there was a piece of a fossilized dinosaur skin of, and I'm going to try to pronounce this, Edmontosaurus, discovered in Montana.
What?
And it was like a piece of their skin. And I didn't look further into this than just this like post that
Sure.
I saw, but I was like, that was crazy because me and you were just talking about that they did find a piece of a fossilized dinosaur, as well as this like a preserved nodosaur, 110 million year old armored plant eater, is the best preserved fossil of its kind ever found. And once again, I'm not sure how it was preserved, where they found this at, if it was frozen.
That is amazing.
Right?
Guys, you need to see this photo. Maybe
Right?
Jaden can shoot it up on our socials.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Both of those pictures that I used. So, got a little off topic there. As you were saying, most dinosaurs are found in Asia.
Right.
That was just a side note I wanted to.
So, okay, let's pivot then to the people that said we needed to do a little bit more research. Guys, we're out here, we're doing the research, we're not finding shit. Since it's basically being left up to us of what we think, let's get into what we think happened with the Ice Age. I was telling Jaden, I don't think it lasted extremely long because I don't think humanity could survive millions or even thousands of years, maybe even hundreds of years in an ice age from what we were taught in school and these crazy below zero temperatures and things like that. Did we ever find out what happened to the mammoths?
I was just looking at that. It does actually say that a mix between the climate change, like the increasing temperatures, and humanity hunting them.
Right.
A mix of both is what happened to the mammoths, which is something that would be very good for us to look into further because now we have elephants.
Yes.
We had mammoths. Now we have elephants. brother and sister,
Yeah.
if you would say. So somehow we ended up with elephants, whether or not the hair of the mammoth just fell off.
Probably. It had to
It just-
evolve a little bit.
It just shaved, really. I looked up what kind of animals were alive during the Ice Age because mine and Sarah's assumption, and this is literally, like she said, based off of the movie Ice Age.
Yep.
They tell us we have mammoths, we have saber-toothed tigers, and giant sloths. Now, I was curious about the squirrel situation in the Ice Age. There is a squirrel. So I was curious. I had to Google it. And apparently we had horses, ground sloths, bison, mammoth, mastodon, camels, a musk ox, saber-toothed cats, short-faced bear, moose, jaguar. Pronghorn, deer, direwolves, peccary, foxes, tappers, voles, ground squirrels. So we did have squirrels.
We had squirrels. Disney did their research.
Deer mice, gophers, pack rats, badgers, and moles. We had quite the list here, but the largest is the mammoth.
Here's my question as well. We had a great list of animals there. One of the things that come to my mind was that what were they eating? Because not all of those animals
other.
on those lists are predators. You have a moose on there, you have bison on there. They're herbivores. So there had to have been plant life.
It says they ate the plant life that wasn't covered in ice.
I wasn't even aware that there was plant life.
See, such as hardy grasses and shrubs, but I guess this falls into how you saw that only select areas had an ice age.
And I'm thinking that's where we're at.
Which is weird because when I hear someone talk about the ice age, I picture global ice age.
That's where I'm thinking the Mandela effect is coming into play because, and guys, please let us know if this is what you were taught, that the world was covered in ice and snow. There was limited amounts of life. That was the earliest signs of humans that we could find with their cave drawings on the wall. And they discovered fire and all this kinds of stuff. But I feel like the script is being flipped on us. We should be able to do a simple Google search, put in the Ice Age, and actually get some decent facts on, hey, it occurred 2.4 million years ago. These were the animals that lived during that time. Maybe not the whole world was covered in ice, but that's what I'm thinking now. Even with humanity, say Europe, Asia, and Scandinavia were covered in ice. Humans are going to always stay on the move. They're going to look for the next best habitat. And maybe they just worked their way away from Asia, Europe, etc. And that's how they found themselves in other areas on the continent where there was greenery and shrubs and different animals.
Going back to the woolly mammoth, since that's what you brought up
Yeah.
originally. So I guess the last woolly mammoth died 6,000 years ago. It's saying that the Ice Age ended 11,000 years ago. But it's saying the last woolly mammoth died 6,000 years ago. It's saying majority of them died out 15,000 years ago, but there was one little herd left on an island off the coast of Siberia. About 10,000 years ago. There was a small group of woolly mammoths found themselves stuck there. It doesn't disclose why. The isolated herd multiplied. They became the only surviving members of their species and thrived for around 6,000 years until they died out.
Don't they have woolly mammoth DNA?
Yeah, they found a frozen baby woolly mammoth in the ice because they want to use the DNA to...
And they are
Bring
going to
it back.
recreate this thing, aren't they?
They want to, yeah. They have disclosed that they want to.
How wild would that be?
A woolly mammoth?
Yeah, a real one.
I think I would be scared.
I know,
It's
me
like
too.
the first steps of Jurassic Park, and we all know how that
Right?
went.
You know what's crazy? It's talking about Jurassic Park, and kudos to the producers and creators and writers of Jurassic Park. The explanation of how they got the dino DNA, scientists said, yeah, hypothetically, that would work.
Right.
If we found these mosquitoes stuck in the saps of trees
Right.
with dino blood in their
I
bodies.
think we can do that.
I don't think we
Finding
should.
stuff- I know, I don't think we should either, but I think we could, like, finding stuff preserved in amber. Now, I don't necessarily think it would come from a mosquito.
Do you think like
know?
maybe a tick or a leech?
Were those even around?
I would assume, yeah, leeches are as old as time. Leeches have been
Bigger,
around
though.
forever.
Were they bigger? Or were
Oh,
they still
no, I'm sure they
bitties?
were probably giants.
Oh my God.
A giant leech.
A leech like the size of us.
Yeah.
Just sucking on the
But
side of
think
a
about
dino.
that would even make more sense than mosquitoes stuck in the amber if you just found these fossilized leeches that still had some dino DNA in them.
I don't even know if they've ever found a
They
fossilized
probably haven't.
leech.
Leeches, they don't have like much to their chemical makeup. You know, people still use leeches for medical purposes. They still use leeches to this day for certain things.
I know they used them like years and years ago, but I thought that it had come out that, oh, maybe this isn't the best practice.
No, so and guys, I don't know what medical procedure it's actually used for, but back in the medieval times, they did use leeches because they thought that whenever you were sick, it was bad blood. So they would put leeches on you to take the bad blood out. But now what they use leeches for is blood circulation. So say, for example, you have a surgery, maybe your leg got detached in a car crash or something, and they were able to reattach the leg. But the key to the leg surviving is blood flow. So what they'll do is they'll put leeches on the quote unquote detached leg, and it encourages blood flow because blood is being sucked out of that appendage.
I don't like that.
Yeah. I mean, they're not commonly used that much, but they're still out there. We still use them for medical purposes. They just aren't used for cleaning blood.
I was trying to do a search for a leech real quick to see if they found fossilized leeches, and I did see that they have found fossilized leeches with organic matter inside of them, but I don't want to stray too far from the Ice Age. That will be visited at a later time.
Yep, put a bookmark in it, folks.
It is. It's tabbed. Leeches. Everything that we've learned, me and Sarah, over the course of the last hour of trying to brief ourselves on the Ice Age, I don't even really know what to believe with the Ice Age anymore. Or to even believe if there really was a large Ice Age.
Okay, so how about this? Before we started doing research, you had the mothership theory that was discussed in episode 2. If you didn't listen to it, please go listen to Jaden's mothership theory. But Ice Age, in your mind, what do you think happened? What was going on there? Is it just as simple as the Ice Age happened, the dinosaurs no longer existed, humanity just pops up out of nowhere? They popped up from the mothership, right? And then we have these creatures that are meant to live in cold climates, and then everything lived there for some time, and then the earth heated back up.
That's pretty much what I believed before doing any research. Now, the only gap in my logic that I had was I don't know how quickly all of this happened after the dinosaurs. That was the only gap that I didn't know, that I didn't understand. I don't want to say I didn't know. I didn't have an opinion on.
Yep.
I'll say. But I definitely think in that time, we fall into the Ice Age. We have people pop up, which I assume evolution, personally. We get people, same thing. Somehow, maybe microorganisms were stuck. Somewhere survived the meteor hitting or our mothership. Don't forget the mothership. See, I feel like mine's going both ways because I really do believe this mothership thing. I do, but I believe there was evolution. I don't think I fully understand the concept of it, but I think there was evolution, maybe not necessarily of humans, here at least, but of animals. Just because you look at the woolly mammoth and you look at an elephant and you're like, okay, come on now.
Yeah.
That is the same thing without hair.
Right.
And shorter tusks.
Yep.
So it's that thing. A saber-toothed tiger is a tiger with longer teeth.
Yep.
There's just a few things it didn't need to evolve into a completely different species. It's like a Pokemon evolving. It's gradual. Saber-toothed tiger, its teeth fall off, it's tiger. Woolly mammoth, it loses its hair, it's an elephant. So I think there was a little bit of evolution there somewhere.
Sure.
But where they actually came from, I think that's the biggest mystery. Where did they come from?
Here's my theory. This is what I think happened. So I think that
God. Buckle up, guys.
No, so I think that dinosaurs were put on this planet. The Lord Christ decided nothing else can survive with these monstrosities around. I'm going to send a meteor. I'm going to wipe them out, make it a clean cut. Sent the meteor down, killed the dinosaurs, put the rest of life on our planet. But I think when the meteor hit the Earth, I think it did cause parts of the Earth to go into an ice age. So if, again, and you and I talked about this in the last episode, the majority of dinosaur bones have been found in Asia and Europe. So it would make sense the meteor hit somewhere in Asia or Europe.
Right.
And guys, I don't actually know where it hit. I don't know if there's science behind it. And frankly, I don't give a fuck. This is my theory, okay?
Once again, guys, philosophical.
Yes.
Philosophical.
Yes. So the meteor hit somewhere in between Asia or Europe or something like that. And it caused the sun to get blocked out and it went to an ice age. Maybe the Earth did tilt off its axis, or maybe something happened with the CO2 levels to cause ice and snow. I think animals migrated there and they were living in those snowy conditions. I think humans lived in those snowy conditions just because we're natural habitat jumpers, whether we started there or started somewhere else and just magically found ourselves over there in Scandinavia, Europe, or Asia. Who knows? And then that's where the signs of human life came from. But after reading partial ice age instead of a whole Earth of ice age, that makes sense. I'm buying that. That's my theory.
Oh my gosh. Oh my god. I did see, I know me and you talked that maybe we didn't think that humans could live in an ice age for very long periods of time. I'm thinking, and this just came once again from the depths of my brain itself.
Ooh.
When I was looking up the ice age, I was looking at estimated temperatures that it was.
Sure.
It was only really 46 degrees.
That's an ice age?
According to Google, 46 degrees is what the ice age was. Now, I was picturing negatives. That was just my thought.
Yeah.
And then I thought, is it maybe a little ignorant of us to assume that they're still Eskimos? They've been living, I don't know how long they've been living in their cold. They live in the cold climates.
Yeah.
I don't know where exactly, but Eskimos choose to live in the cold climates.
Yeah.
Maybe we could have survived. Once again, you adapt and evolve. You put on a jacket when you're cold, take it off when you're hot. Maybe we just put on an extra jacket if the ice age really was lasting a million years.
Yeah.
I don't think humans had to endure it for a million years.
This just came to my mind, assuming that only parts of the Earth had an ice age. What if the fact that there was human life there was only us going on like hunting trips? You know what I mean? Because we're hunters and gatherers, right? So say we lived in maybe climates that it was only about 46 degrees or maybe a little bit warmer.
Yeah.
But the deeper that we went into Europe and Asia, the colder it got. And that's where we found the woolly mammoths and the saber-toothed tigers and stuff like that. What if we sent out hunting parties to go hunt down these big woolly mammoths or saber-toothed tigers if they really were up to that? And they went to bring food back to the family because they knew, hey, if I go and I kill a woolly mammoth, that's going to feed the tribe as opposed to me killing squirrels or foxes.
Learning now that only parts of the world had an ice age, it really, I don't know, that's really twisting my brain.
Does it make you hurt a little bit? Are you hurting your brain?
Kinda, just because, I don't know. Why does no one tell you this?
Why wasn't this taught in school? It was literally taught that, oh, the whole world went into a freeze and humans were cave dwellers and hunted the woolly mammoths. And then somehow miraculously the earth warmed up.
That's what I mean. And once again, no one says what happened before or immediately after. No one freaking talks about that.
So you know how you said the mothership crash landed and that could have caused maybe some of the continents to float around or tectonic plates to move, or it was a catalyst, right?
Yes.
So the mothership was a catalyst. Mm. So from what we know in nature, everything tries to correct itself, right? So if you think about say, for example, abandoned houses, right? Or abandoned towns. Have you seen like pictures of abandoned towns? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what happens is nature tries to retake over, right? The things that humans have created as habitats slowly start to correct themselves. Nature starts to take back over. What if when the meteor, the mothership, whatever it was, hit the earth, caused the ice age, it made the earth go off its axis a little bit, or it changed something? Nature's going to correct itself. Maybe it just took it a while to correct itself, and that's why the ice age just poof, gone. I think that's a good explanation as to why the ice age stopped.
No, I get it. I guess where my brain's at now is, were we a tropical planet before this? Before?
I thought about that too, because if you're saying that the ice age was 46 degrees, and we talked about this in episode 2, maybe it was the ice age that killed off the dinosaurs, right? Because they couldn't maintain body heat.
No, sir, if you think, if they were lizards, if they were all lizards, which is what we are taught that they were,
Yes.
some had feathers, but for the most part, reptiles and birds, they are cold-blooded. They can't survive in cold at all. Yeah, so I don't even think there's any adapting to that, because a lizard, if anyone has ever had a lizard, you need a heat lamp for your lizard or it dies.
Yep.
Same thing. We talked about it. I have a turkey. He lives outside in his coop, but he has a heat lamp for the winter because he will die
Yep.
exposed to the cold.
So they could have died even if it was a balmy 46.
Yeah. Frostbite.
We did it, guys. We solved the mystery.
Frostbitten dinos. Clock it. I don't know. I've heard people say that on social media. I don't
Is
know
that
what
a
it
new
means.
thing?
I see people do
Where
this
did-
and they say clock it. I
Where
don't know what
did
it
gang
means.
come from?
Derek's brain.
Okay, as I'm getting, this is off topic, but you guys know me and Jaden. We love to get off topic. I mentioned to Jaden too over the weekend that I think we both have a little bit of ADHD, because after listening to these episodes, we go up, down, up, down. It's a roller coaster ride, but I think that's what makes things interesting. But Jaden and I, there's an eight-year gap between us, right? 8 years?
Yes.
Yes. So there's an 8-year gap between us. And I remember when back in my high time, there was certain verbiage. I don't understand half the words now, nor do I know what they mean.
Listen, I feel like I'm starting to get to that and I feel old.
Don't people call things gas? That's gas. I've heard that
been
before.
something.
Yeah.
That's been around for
See, guys, I didn't even know that one.
years. Yeah. Like,
No, I didn't know that. There's like other words that I don't understand. I have like whenever I talk to younger folks, like maybe not
like
even.
skibbity toilet.
Yeah, I don't know. What is that?
I
What
don't
does that
know.
mean?
It's like a head in a toilet. But I don't.
What?
It's like a man's head in a toilet, but I don't actually know what it is. But I saw at Walmart, they have a toy. It's called a skibbity toilet, I think. And it's like $50.
Is it a toy where like they put someone's head in a toilet?
No, it's literally like a man's head just sitting in a toilet.
Is that like a term? But is a skibbity toilet like a term of expression? Or is it an insult like, I'm going to turn you into a skibbity toilet?
Sarah,
That is wild.
I don't
Jaden's
know
showing me a
because
picture of this.
there was
Ew.
skibbity toilet Riz. And I think this, it very much is like middle school boy coded, I think.
No, for sure. I think all of our self-expression started with a middle school boy
It was
around a lunch table. Yeah.
a YouTube short.
It's an
Skibbity
YouTube
is a
short?
nonsense slang term for that's popular with Gen Alpha. It is no set meaning.
Wait, what is Gen Alpha?
Like the generation now.
I thought that was Gen Z.
That's me.
I'm so
I'm a Gen
confused.
Z.
I'm Gen Y. So it goes Gen Y, no, Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, Gen Alpha.
I guess so.
Where did they come up with Alpha? I thought it was the I generation. There's something where it's the I generation. Yeah, and I think it was supposed to be Gen Z was the I generation. You can look it up if you want. But I've heard of the I generation because everything's focused on technology. So I is an iPhone, iPad, iMac.
Oh, wait. I guess I'm also an iGen.
Is it Gen Z that's the I generation?
Gen Z or iGen, it says. Born 1997 to 2010. So Shay is also an iGen. Gen Z. iGen.
What was the dates on that again?
1997 to 2010.
Oh, wow.
And then Gen Alpha is anyone born between 2010 and 2024.
So I feel like people
totally
intermix Gen Y and Gen Z as millennials.
It says millennials or Gen Y.
That's interesting.
So I think I guess they're both. Because it says 1981 to 1996.
You know what's annoying to me, though? If you listen to news reports or anything political, everybody's like, the fucking millennials, they're blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up. We don't do shit.
Right?
We grew up in the 90s. We're cool as cukes.
Everyone, whenever eating Tide Pods was like a trend. You remember?
I think you
people
told me
really-
about it.
yeah,
I don't think I
people were
ever
eating
watched it.
Tide Pods. I never watched it either, but kids were dying. This was like a couple years ago. It might have
No
been
way.
pre-COVID, actually. People were eating Tide Pods because they
Ugh.
were calling them the forbidden gushers. And they were eating Tide Pods, and kids were dying.
Yeah.
And I think it was Gen Z. I think it was my generation, but I'm like, I don't even want to be put in that same category. I'm not eating a fucking Tide Pod. Do not categorize me with them.
Do you remember the cinnamon challenge?
Yes.
I love
did
that
the
one.
Cinnamon challenge. Ironically enough, Shay made me do the cinnamon challenge when I was little,
Oh, boy.
but she didn't do it.
Of course you did. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up this episode. Final thoughts on the Ice Age. I feel like we didn't get a lot out of it this time.
I was going to say, I really don't know what to think. And like we said, we will revisit this, but it will probably be a couple seasons down the road.
Yeah.
But we would definitely like to talk about it more whenever we hear more people's opinions and we get a little bit more factual evidence to back it up. Because now I'm not sure. Like, I came into this thinking, like how you said, the basis.
We were able
Meteor
to
or
follow the
mothership,
timeline.
everything. Yeah, the timeline.
Yeah.
I believed that. And now, once we did our little scoop into Google and everything, I don't know what to believe about the Ice Age.
Yeah, now I'm just more confused.
I think it was as big of a staple in history as...
It's being made out to be.
Yeah.
Again, buddy, everything that we believe is a lie.
It has to be. I think there's something funky going on with the Ice Age that they don't want us to know.
For sure. Guys, this might have been a shorter episode, but I couldn't find a lot on the Ice Age. Hope we were able to give you some things to tickle your brain with. Again, please feel free to leave a comment. Thank you so much for listening. And this is The Riddles of Reality.